And now we are joined by the deputy head of the United Transitional Cabinet of Belarus, Pavel Latushka, to talk more about Belarus, Russia, Alexander Lukashenko, and, of course, Ukraine. Mr. Latushka, greetings and thanks for joining us.
Приветствую вас.
So, my first question to you will be as follows. Will there be an attack against Ukraine from the territory of Belarus?
В настоящий момент мы наблюдаем.
For the time being, we see and we observe a pretty active stage for the preparation of a possible aggression from the territory of Belarus. There are constant military trainings on the territory of Belarus, and the grouping of the armed forces of the Russian Federation on the territory of Belarus is increasing. Right now, the mobilization is actually suspended, or the preliminary military registration, and also right now it is just about to press certain button. We see that certain equipment has been sent to the military base, and right now Lukashenko assists Putin from the territory of Belarus to build up the opportunity of the possible invasion. The question of invasion, this is the question of future, and this scenario is pretty real because Putin is interested to use the strategic position of Belarus in the war against Ukraine, and Lukashenko is a puppet of Putin and will carry out every his order. And moreover, during the last visit of Putin to Minsk, Putin paid him dearly billions of US dollars.
Do you have the facts that Mr. Putin has already paid Lukashenko so much money?
During this visit, the main topic, public topic, was that behind the closed doors, the main topic was the military and political situation and the usage of the Lukashenko's regime and the territory of Belarus for the further aggression. We have heard that the Lukashenko's regime wants to have gas out of Russia at the cost $60–80 USD. It's a rough estimate, but I think that it is pretty close to the real one as compared to the thousands of dollars Europe is paying. And also there was certain confirmation from Putin on the building up of the Belarusian nuclear power plant affirmed by Putin, and one block has already been built by the credit money of Russia, from Russia. And actually this loan period has been prolonged because we also see that Lukashenko has the opportunity to have limitless access to the market of Russian Federation. Also another project of the import exchanging amounted at $1.9 billion US dollars of the military sector of Belarus. And right now, actually, you have seen what Putin has brought to Belarus, and certain Western politologists think that actually Putin paid billions of dollars. What for? Yes, Putin paid this price for the readiness of Lukashenko to enter into war, to open borders, to give his territories, to wage the war in Ukraine, and again to try to invade Kyiv again.
What, or maybe whom, is Lukashenko afraid of right now?
Lukashenko is afraid, first of all, to lose his power. Power is everything he holds, it's his locomotive, and this is what he wants to possess till his dying day. Of course, we understand that Putin is afraid of Belarusian people, Belarusian society, and because of this, up till now, he hasn't made his mind in order to appoint his armed forces on the territory of Ukraine, not because he is being pressed by Putin, but actually, I reject the thesis that Lukashenko is somehow looping around. Yes, he roams around Putin and Putin. It means that Lukashenko wants to receive more economic bonuses from Putin in exchange of the support of the strategic goals of Russia in the war in Ukraine. Therefore, right now, his main fear as of today, if Belarusian armed forces will go into Ukraine, there will be lots of corpses. It will trigger certain reaction. Is it necessary for Putin right now to make Lukashenko send his troops in Ukraine? And my answer is no, because if this happens, there will be pre-revolutionary crisis in Belarus, and this crisis will need to be fought by Putin as well. Therefore, right now, this is not scenario, and I think that the politologists that assume this scenario, they are mistaken, because we understand that if there will be more larger grouping at the territory of Belarus, this will be the condition.
So you have already started to talk about the possible crisis in Belarus. So my last question to you will be about this crisis. But let us first hear what the spokesman of the State Department of the United States of America, Ned Price, said, and then I will ask a question.
The reported claim from President Putin that he has no intention of, as you said, absorbing anyone in his talks with Lukashenko. Look, I think a statement like that has to be treated as the height of irony, coming from a leader who is seeking, at the present moment, right now, to violently absorb his other peaceful next-door neighbor. We saw Russian forces mass inside what should have been sovereign Belarusian territory. We've seen attacks launched from what should be sovereign Belarusian territory. And now we hear these comments from President Putin and from Lukashenko. But I think the track record speaks much louder than anything these two leaders could say.
So, Mr. Latushka, my last question to you is as follows. When will Belarusians overthrow Lukashenko and regain their independence? I mean true independence, not the one Lukashenko is always talking about.
I think that there can be possible two scenarios, and we have to pay our attention to them, as well as our Western partners. Of course, the changing of the situation in Belarus is in hands of the Belarusians. But I think that the fact that right now there is no pressure, no sanctions as such in the Belarusian society, and Russia makes certain bonuses for Lukashenko to be the certain smuggler of the 21st century. If there was bigger pressure on Lukashenko, if there was certain direction for him to Hague, there will be certain chances for the Belarusian people to overthrow regime earlier than it happens in Russia. If West cannot cope with a small dictator, is it possible for the West to cope with a bigger one? And the second scenario, which is more probable, and I would like again to highlight the first scenario as well. The second scenario is what we believe and what we support. This is the victory of Ukraine. And our volunteers, Belarusian military unions, they also fight within armed forces of Ukraine. And we understand that the victory of Ukraine is really, really important for us to change the situation in our country. But we also have to use three factors. The first one, this is the internal underground movement, and we are working on it. The second factor is to have certain pro-armed forces within the military armed forces of Ukraine. And the third factor, this is international acknowledgement of the Unified Transitional Committee of Belarus. These are three main pillars that we can stand on and change the situation in Belarus in future.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for joining us today. This was Pavel Latushka, the deputy head of the United Transitional Cabinet of Belarus.
Thanks for watching our YouTube channel. Latest news, trends, and analytics on all about Ukraine. Like, share, and subscribe. Any questions, proposals, and comments, contact us via email.